Trade Commissioner Sarah Chen stared at the holographic display floating above her desk, her expression carefully neutral as she processed the news. The Meridian Collective, one of the oldest spacefaring civilizations in known space, had just destroyed 3 of Earth's outer colony worlds. 30 million lives, gone in an instant. They said it was a precautionary measure, her AI assistant, HFY, reported. The collective's official statement claims that humanity's rapid expansion and our concerning biological adaptability represented an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Sarah picked up her favorite mug, a relic from her days at the Lunar Trade Academy, and took a slow sip of now-cold coffee. Interesting timing, she mused. Just as we were about to announce the successful development of our independent gravity manipulation technology. The Meridian's primary source of income and influence, Araya noted. Indeed. Sarah stood and walked to the window of her office in the Galactic Trade Center on Mars. Below, she could see ships from 100 different species coming and going, most carrying Earth's most valuable export: food. Humanity had become the breadbasket of the galaxy, our agricultural expertise unmatched. Send a message to the Council, Sarah instructed. Tell them Operation Long Game is now in effect. And ARI, make sure our people in the field maintain absolute normalcy. No changes in behavior, no sudden movements, just business as usual. The Council is asking if we should implement military protocols, Araya reported. Sarah smiled, though there was nothing warm about it. The Meridians think they've caught us off guard, that we're just another young species they can bully into submission. They don't realize that humanity has been preparing for something like this for the past 300 years. She touched a hidden panel on her desk, revealing a quantum-encrypted communication device. This is Trade Commissioner Chen. Authorization code: Dragon's Tooth. Begin Phase 1. Across the galaxy, hidden protocols buried deep in seemingly innocent trade agreements began to activate. Backdoors in Meridian technology, placed there through centuries of careful technology sharing, quietly opened. Special additives in Earth-produced food, harmless to most species, but carefully designed to enhance certain traits in Meridian biology, continued their slow work. The Meridians believe they're dealing with a young, naive species, Sarah murmured. They're about to learn that humanity's peaceful nature isn't due to weakness or inexperience. It's because we remember what we're capable of when pushed too far. Incoming message from the Meridian Trade Council, Araya announced. They're demanding an immediate response to their corrective action. Send them our standard diplomatic template, full of apologies and concerns, with a request for further dialogue. Sarah's smile grew sharper. Let them think we're scrambling, afraid. Let them think they've won. She turned back to the window, watching as a massive agricultural transport prepared to depart for Meridian space. Its holds were full of Earth-grown food, each item carefully engineered over centuries for this very possibility. The Meridians thought they were maintaining their dominance. In reality, they were consuming their own defeat, one meal at a time. You know, ARIA, Sarah mused, there's an old Earth saying, beware the fury of a patient people. The Meridians are about to learn why that warning has survived so many centuries. Across human space, carefully hidden military installations remained dormant. Ships that appeared to be simple freighters maintained their regular routes. Humanity continued its seemingly passive response to an act of unprecedented aggression. And deep within the secure databases of Earth's central planning complex, a countdown began. The Meridians had just made the biggest mistake in their 50,000-year history. They had assumed that humanity's lack of obvious military response indicated weakness. They hadn't considered that perhaps, just perhaps, we had simply learned to wage war by other means. They would learn. Oh, how they would learn. 3 months after the Meridian attack, High Commander Vextol of the Meridian Collective was experiencing what humans would call anxiety. He stared at the reports flooding his neural interface, his characteristic Meridian confidence wavering for the first time in decades. Explain this to me again, he demanded of his chief analyst, whose silver scales had dulled with stress. How are they causing these effects without any detectable military action? The analyst, Kellera, brought up a holographic display showing economic trends across Meridian space. The humans appear to be doing nothing, Commander. That's what makes this so disturbing. They filed their formal protests through diplomatic channels, requested negotiations, and continued all normal trade operations. Yet, she gestured at the display, where red indicators were spreading like a virus across Meridian economic sectors. Our gravity manipulation technology is experiencing unprecedented failure rates. Our ships are reporting navigation errors. And most concerning, our population is showing signs of changes. Vextal's neural tendrils twisted in agitation. Increased aggression, decreased cooperative behavior, subtle alterations in our biochemistry. Our scientists can't explain it. We've tested for biological weapons, chemical agents, radiation. Nothing. Everything from Earth checks out as completely safe. In her office on Mars, Sarah Chen reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. Phase 1 progress. She asked Araya. The engineered nutrients we've been adding to their food supply for the past century are finally reaching critical concentration, the AI reported. The Meridian population is becoming increasingly difficult to control. Their hierarchical social structure is beginning to fragment. Sarah nodded. Humanity had learned early that direct military confrontation wasn't always the answer. Why fight an enemy when you could simply adjust them? And the technology situation. The backdoors we built into their systems are working perfectly. Every time they try to use their gravity manipulation technology, our hidden protocols introduce subtle errors. Not enough to be catastrophic, just enough to erode confidence and efficiency. Back in Meridian space, Vextal was reaching a disturbing conclusion. They're not going to attack us militarily, are they? Keldra's scales shifted to a pale blue of deep concern. No, Commander. I believe they already attacked us. Long ago. We just didn't notice until they wanted us to. Impossible, Vextal scoffed, but there was uncertainty in his voice. They're barely 1,000 years into space travel. We've been among the stars for 50,000 years. And in that 1,000 years, Keldra noted, they've become essential to galactic commerce. They feed half the known species. Their primitive technology is integrated into every aspect of our infrastructure. We thought we were allowing them to develop under our supervision. But they were playing a longer game. Vextal finished, his neural tendrils going completely still with shock. On Earth, the Strategic Planning Council convened in their underground chamber. Sarah Chen's hologram joined dozens of others, each representing a different aspect of humanity's carefully orchestrated response. The Meridians are beginning to understand, she reported. Their social structure is fracturing exactly as our models predicted. Their technological advantage is eroding, and they're starting to realize just how thoroughly we've prepared for this moment. Casualties from the colony attacks? Asked the defense commissioner, his hologram flickering with barely contained anger. Every single one was evacuated through the quantum tunnels we've been building for the past 50 years, Sarah replied. The Meridians destroyed empty buildings and automated systems. Our people are safe in the deep colonies. A murmur of satisfaction ran through the council. Humanity had learned the hard way, through countless wars and conflicts on Earth, that the best victories were the ones your enemy didn't even realize were happening until it was too late. Should we move to Phase 2? Asked the science commissioner, her image surrounded by scrolling data. Sarah smiled. Not yet. Let them stew a bit longer. Let them realize just how completely they've misunderstood us. The Meridians thought they were punishing an upstart species. Instead, they've given us the perfect justification to unveil just a fraction of what we're capable of. In his command center, Vextal watched as another report of technological failures came in. His neural tendrils twitched as he realized that humans hadn't just been preparing for war. They'd been waging it, silently and invisibly, for centuries. And they had done it so subtly, so perfectly, that the Meridians had never even noticed they were under attack. "Kellera," he said quietly, "send a message to Earth. Tell them we wish to discuss terms." The analyst's scales shifted to a deep purple of dread. "What makes you think they'll even need to negotiate, Commander? They've already won. We just didn't know we were playing." The Galactic Food Exchange on Luna was humanity's greatest triumph of architecture and agriculture combined. Vast hydroponic gardens spiraled through crystalline towers, while quantum-linked distribution hubs processed millions of shipments daily. At its heart, Dr. Maya Patel stood before the exchange's governing board, her presentation causing increasing discomfort among the alien representatives. "As you can see," she gestured to the holographic display showing food supply chains across the galaxy. 90% of all Meridian worlds depend on Earth-based agriculture for their primary nutrition. They simply cannot maintain their current population levels without our supplies. The Centaurian representative, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, pulsed with concern. "But surely they have alternatives." Maya's smile was professional, practiced, and completely merciless. "They thought they did. The Meridians have been trying to replicate our agricultural methods for centuries. What they never realized was that we deliberately engineered our crops to be impossible to reproduce without specific Earth-based bacterial strains that we carefully guard." In the deepest secure facility beneath the exchange, Sarah Chen met with Dr. Patel after the presentation. The room was quantum-shielded against any possible surveillance, though both women knew such precautions were largely theatrical at this point. The Meridians were far too busy dealing with their cascading crisis to attempt espionage. "The latest reports from Meridian space are interesting," Maya noted, bringing up her own data display. "Their attempts to synthesize food alternatives are failing spectacularly. The genetic modifications we've been introducing through their food supply have altered their digestive systems over generations. They literally cannot process anything but our specifically engineered foods now." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. 100 years of careful genetic manipulation tends to have that effect. How long until total systemic collapse? Without our food shipments? Their civilization has perhaps 2 standard months before their social order completely breaks down. Already, their outer colonies are experiencing severe shortages. The changes we induced in their biochemistry are accelerating as planned. Increased aggression, decreased impulse control. They're starting to fight among themselves over remaining supplies. In his command center, now considerably less grand than it had been a few months ago, Vextel received the latest reports with growing horror. The Meridian Collective, once proud and unified, was fracturing along lines that seemed almost purposefully designed to create maximum chaos. "How did we not see this coming?" he demanded of no one in particular. His neural tendrils, once a proud silver, had faded to a sickly gray, a sign of severe nutritional stress that was becoming common among his people. Kellera, watching from her station, had developed a nervous tremor in her scales. "Because they let us believe what we wanted to believe, Commander. We saw their agricultural expertise as simple technical skill. We never imagined that they were weaving a web." Vextel finished. "Every meal, every trade deal, every seemingly innocent exchange of technology. They were building our dependence on them piece by piece." On Earth, the Strategic Planning Council convened again. This time, the mood was one of grim satisfaction as they reviewed the effects of their centuries-long preparation. "The Meridians have formally requested emergency food shipments to their core worlds," Sarah reported. "They're offering significant technological concessions in exchange." "Their gravity manipulation technology?" someone asked. Sarah's laugh was soft, but carried an edge of steel. "That's hardly relevant anymore. Thanks to our hidden protocols, their entire technological infrastructure is degrading faster than they can repair it. No, they're offering something far more valuable: their complete unconditional surrender." Maya brought up a new display, showing the spread of civil unrest across Meridian space. Their population is experiencing exactly the psychological effects we designed for. The carefully engineered nutrients in their food supply have altered their brain chemistry over generations. Now that those nutrients are being withheld, the changes are dramatic. And the other galactic powers? Asked the defense commissioner. Watching very carefully, Sarah replied. They're beginning to understand that humanity's apparent technological lag in some areas wasn't due to inability, but choice. We let others think they were ahead of us, while we built our influence in ways they never imagined. In the shadows of her office, Sarah accessed a secure communication channel. Initiate Phase 3, she ordered. It's time to show the Meridians, and everyone else, exactly what humanity has been building towards all these years. Throughout human space, hidden installations began to power up. Ships that had masqueraded as simple freighters shed their disguises, revealing weapons systems centuries ahead of anything the Meridians had imagined possible. But these were almost an afterthought now. The real victory had already been won, not with weapons, but with wheat and rice, and carefully engineered nutrients that had remade an entire civilization from the inside out. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon had never been our ships or our guns. It was our patience, our planning, and our understanding that true power doesn't come from destroying your enemies. It comes from making them so completely dependent on you that they can't survive without you. The revelation began with a simple message transmitted simultaneously across every communication channel in Meridian space. In perfectly accented High Meridian, countless voices spoke as one. We have always been here. In the Meridian Central Administration Hub, Vextol watched in growing horror as seemingly loyal Meridian citizens began to shift and change. Quantum disguise fields dropped, revealing human features beneath. His most trusted advisors, maintenance workers, even some military commanders, humans, all of them who had been living and working among the Meridians for decades. Impossible, he whispered, neural tendrils coiling in distress. Our genetic scans were designed by us, said his chief medical officer, her Meridian features dissolving to reveal a human woman. Dr. Sarah Martinez, Earth Intelligence. We've been providing your biotechnology for the past 50 years. Did you never wonder why you couldn't detect us? On 1,000 worlds, in every major institution of Meridian society, the masquerade fell away. Humans had been embedded everywhere, teaching their children, maintaining their technology, preparing their food, handling their communications. The infiltration was so complete, so thorough, that the Meridians couldn't even begin to calculate its scope. In her office on Mars, Sarah Chen watched the chaos unfold with satisfaction. Phase 3 status, she asked Araya. Perfect deployment, the AI reported. Our embedded agents are revealing themselves exactly as planned. The psychological impact on Meridian society is significant. They're discovering that humans have been instrumental in running their civilization for generations. Sarah nodded, remembering the centuries of preparation that had led to this moment. And our special projects. The children's education programs our agents implemented have successfully shaped 3 generations of Meridian youth to be more amenable to human perspectives. Their cultural centers, designed by our architects, subtly reinforced human concepts of spatial organization and social interaction. Even their entertainment, created by our embedded artists, has been slowly acclimating them to human modes of thought. At the Galactic Trade Center, Maya Patel met with representatives from other spacefaring races, all of whom were watching the Meridian situation with increasing alarm. Before you ask, she said calmly, yes, we have people among your populations too. No, we're not going to reveal them. Consider this demonstration a courtesy, a reminder that humanity's apparent technological limitations were always a choice, not a necessity. The Arcturus representative, a being of pure thought housed in a quantum crystal, pulsed with concern. How long have you been preparing this? Maya's smile was gentle, but her eyes were steel. Since our first contact with alien life. We learned early in our history that direct confrontation isn't always the most effective strategy. Sometimes, the best way to win is to make yourself indispensable. In his rapidly emptying command center, Vextol faced the human who had been his trusted analyst for 20 years. Kellera, or rather, Dr. Kelly Reynolds, had shed her Meridian disguise, but kept her position at her familiar station. Why? He asked simply. Why go to all this trouble? You could have defeated us militarily at any time. Because war destroys resources, Kelly replied, her voice gentle. Because broken things are harder to rebuild than things that are carefully dismantled and reconstructed. We didn't want to destroy the Meridian Collective, Vextol. We wanted to transform it. She brought up a display showing the full scope of human infiltration, the careful positioning of agents in education, culture, technology, and governance. Every aspect of Meridian society has been subtly guided toward compatibility with human systems for generations. Your children learn mathematics using human-derived methods. Your architects design spaces using human principles of organization. Even your art has been slowly shifting toward human aesthetic values. And now, Vextol's neural tendrils had gone completely still, a sign of deep shock in his species. Now you understand that isolation from humanity isn't possible. We're too deeply embedded in your civilization. Your people literally cannot function without us, not just because of food or technology, but because we've become essential to how your society operates. In the Strategic Planning Council, Sarah Chen delivered the final assessment. The Meridians are experiencing exactly the cultural shock we designed for. The revelation that humans have been quietly running significant portions of their civilization has completely shattered their sense of superiority. And the other races, asked the Defense Commissioner, are learning exactly what we intended, that humanity's greatest strength isn't our weapons or our technology. It's our ability to become essential, to embed ourselves so thoroughly in other civilizations that removing us becomes impossible without causing complete societal collapse. Throughout human space, hidden installations continued to power it up, revealing capabilities that the Meridians had never imagined possible. But these displays of military might were almost an afterthought now. The real victory had been won long ago, in classrooms and offices, in food production and cultural centers, in the quiet, patient work of thousands of embedded agents who had slowly, carefully made humanity indispensable to galactic civilization. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so quiet. Representatives from every spacefaring species sat in stunned silence as Sarah Chen finished her presentation. The holographic displays showed the full scope of humanity's centuries-long strategy. The careful positioning of agents, the subtle technological interdependencies, the masterful manipulation of trade and culture. As you can now see, Sarah concluded, her voice carrying easily through the vast chamber. Humanity's apparent technological limitations were a choice. Our seemingly peaceful nature wasn't due to weakness, but wisdom. We remembered our own history, how direct conflict often leads to destruction rather than progress. The Meridian representative, newly appointed after the collapse of their previous government, spoke first. His neural tendrils were a pale shade of acceptance. You could have conquered us at any time. Sarah's smile was genuine this time. Conquest wasn't our goal. Integration was. Every human agent embedded in your societies, every technological dependency we created, every cultural shift we engineered, all of it was designed to make peaceful coexistence not just possible, but inevitable. In orbit above Earth, the true extent of human military capability was finally revealed. Ships emerged from quantum shadows, installations appeared from dimensional pockets, and defense systems beyond anything the galaxy had imagined possible showed themselves. But these displays of power were almost an afterthought now, symbols rather than threats. Maya Patel, standing at her station in the Galactic Food Exchange, watched as markets across the galaxy stabilized rather than crashed. The revelation of human capability had been handled so carefully, so precisely, that it inspired awe rather than panic. The nutrient adjustments for the Meridian population. she asked her team. Already being implemented, Dr. Martins replied. The aggression-inducing compounds are being phased out, replaced with stabilizing elements. Within a generation, their natural biochemistry will be restored, though their dependence on human agricultural expertise will remain. In what had once been the Meridian Command Center, Vextel worked alongside Kelly Reynolds, helping to implement the transition plans. I still don't understand, he admitted. Why reveal everything now? Kelly's expression was thoughtful, because the galaxy was approaching a tipping point. The Meridian attack on our colonies wasn't just an isolated incident. It was a symptom of growing instability in the galactic order. We needed to demonstrate that there was a better way. In the Strategic Planning Council's chamber, Sarah Chen presented the final phase of humanity's grand strategy. For centuries, we've been preparing for this moment, not to dominate, but to integrate. Every human agent embedded in alien societies, every technological dependency we created, every cultural bridge we built, all of it was leading to this. The displays showed a new model of galactic organization, one where humanity's role wasn't as conquerors or rulers, but as essential partners. The complex web of interdependencies they had created meant that peaceful cooperation wasn't just the best option, it was the only viable one. The old model of galactic power was based on military might and technological superiority, Sarah explained to the assembled council. We chose a different path. We made ourselves essential not through force, but through service, through understanding, through patience. Across the galaxy, the revelation of humanity's true nature and capabilities was causing a fundamental shift in how other species viewed themselves and their place in the cosmos. The discovery that humans had been quietly guiding galactic civilization towards stability and cooperation for centuries led not to resistance, but to a profound revaluation of interspecies relations. In her private office, Sarah Chen looked out at the Earth below, remembering the centuries of careful planning that had led to this moment. Tell me, Araya, she said softly, did we do the right thing? Manipulating entire civilizations without their knowledge. The A's response was thoughtful. You chose the path of least harm. Instead of conquest, you chose integration. Instead of destruction, you chose transformation. The galaxy is more stable, more prosperous, and more peaceful than it has ever been. On 1,000 worlds, in countless institutions and organizations, human agents continued their work, no longer hidden, but now openly acknowledged as essential partners in galactic civilization. The revelation of their presence had changed everything and nothing at the same time. The Meridians thought they were teaching us a lesson about knowing our place in the galaxy, Sarah mused, watching as ships from 100 worlds moved peacefully through Earth's orbit. Instead, they helped us reveal that we've known our place all along. We're not meant to be conquerors or subjects, but partners. Sometimes the greatest power lies not in domination, but in making yourself so essential that domination becomes unnecessary. As the new galactic order took shape, one truth became clear to all species. Humanity's greatest weapon had never been its hidden ships or advanced technology. It was the patience to spend centuries weaving themselves into the very fabric of galactic civilization, creating a future where peace wasn't just an ideal, but a practical necessity. The dragons hadn't been sleeping after all. They had been building, planning, preparing, not for war, but for a revolution so subtle that by the time it was revealed, it had already succeeded.